What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica Podcast. This week coming to you a little later than usual, but you know what they say, better late than ever, I guess. But here we are, episode number 419. My name is Alfredo. With me, as always, Cristiano Oliveira. Cristiano, como é que é, amigo? Tudo bem?
Alfredo Fumaças, what's going on, my man? Glad to be back. Glad we're back here on the podcast. I miss you, man. As you said, better late than ever. But yeah, man, I'm excited to be back. Miss talking to you guys.
Yeah, that's right. Also with us, as always, the stat man himself, Dave Dalivera. What's happening?
Nothing much, Alfredo. Great to be back on as well with both of you. And, Benfica started a little bit later, so we'll start the podcast a little bit later in the week as well here.
And you know something, Alfredo? Before we came on live, we were talking about Ted Lasso. And now, as we start our podcast here, you throw a line that you call Dave a stat man. I think Dave is in the Nathan category, right? Where I think he's overcome the Kip Man situation. He's done a little bit more than just a stat man. I think it's time we give him a new contract, just to keep keep up with Ted Lasso and what they're doing with the great coaching staff for them. We got to promote Dave. What do you think, Alfredo?
Fritz, I'll use you as my agent next time we're renegotiating.
I just think it was perfect. We talked about that right before we came on, and then I think you deserve a promotion, Dave. I'm sorry.
That's a great reference to Ted Lasso, who is swept at the Emmys, this year's Emmys. And if you haven't checked out that show, we highly recommend it, especially for us in North America, that there's so many references to North American football and sports, if you will. So you'll get a lot of the jokes there. So, but here we are on a Thursday night. We're going to be talking about the Boa Vista game, which happened on Monday, so it wasn't too far ago. We're also got Guimarães that comes up this Saturday, and 6 in a row for Benfica, starting off nice. But anyway, you guys have been good. I've been good. Sorry, I was traveling, and that's why I wasn't here. But here we are. So let's start with this Boa Vista game. Vlaco Dimos was in goal, Verissimo, Otamendi, Vertonghen across the back, Gonçalves and Grimaldo on the wings, Weigl and João Mário in the middle, Rafa, Darwin, and Yaramchuk up front. Chris, I guess we could discuss this lineup really, but this is probably, in my view, Benfica's strongest lineup. But what I wanted to ask you about is the change in the Darwin positioning. I'll get your take on it, and then I'll offer my opinion.
Alfredo, just rewind. Go back and listen to a previous podcast. I believe we talked about where exactly would a Darwin Nunez, who has not been firing in all cylinders, where he would fit in this lineup. And I think we talked about putting him on the outside and bringing him in, let him make his runs, because the one thing he could do is absolutely use his physique and his powerful stride and all those great attributes to the best of his ability. And I think it's helped out Benfica. And look, having another guy up top in a Yaramchenko to take the attention away from the opposition, maybe he's alleviated things for a guy like Darwin. And look, it's definitely worked out. Let's not throw all the forgets at once. We're ecstatic that he's getting a brace game after game, but he's still leaving a lot of other chances there that I think he should be putting away. But again, this is all positive, right, Dave? We're keeping up with the positive Cristiano, right? This is all positives for Darwin Nunez. And as I stated in the last podcast, he got 2 lucky goals with the deflections in the previous game. But we were all hopeful that would lead to, his confidence being built up. And that's exactly what we've seen here. And so as long as he keeps putting away 2 out of 5 chances, I'll take it.
2 out of 5 is not bad.
I'll take it.
That's almost 50%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than what he did last year. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. The one thing, obviously, so when we compare Darwin to Everton, right? And regardless of the form of each one of them, the characteristics that they both have are different in a way that Darwin is a lot more physical. He's more vertical, while Everton likes to cut in, as you know. But Darwin is very physical, and he can attack that space between the center back and the fullback, which is what he's been doing. And then what you have there, which is an interesting dynamic that I noticed, was the fact that when Yaremchuk attacks the other side, the right side between the center back and the fullback, what that does is that brings Darwin into the middle. And as we saw it, first opportunity of the game, Darwin tried to get cute and completely missed the goal. But the second opportunity of the game, another deep ball into Yaremchuk. Yaremchuk gets deep behind the defense, puts it back to Diogo Gonçalves. Diogo Gonçalves crosses the ball, and you got Darwin in the middle to put that away.
Yeah, for sure. It helps. It also helps Benfica in transition. When Benfica gets on the attacking third, obviously, as you stated before, Yaremchuk with his movement, it allows to get another guy in the box in a Darwin Núñez, where when you have a guy like Everton who's not going to get in the box, he's not the same presence in the box. I think it changes things a little bit for Benfica. I think Everton creates, when we get a healthy, a right Everton, he creates more opportunities for his teammates, where this guy is obviously a goal scorer. He's a striker. He's a guy that's accustomed to getting the ball, putting his head down, and doing everything he can to get to the goal. And, when it works out, it's fantastic to see. When this guy's got confidence, it's been pleasant to see. And, we see the player that Benfica was, trying to acquire when they spent the league record fee on a player from second division in Spain. And now you see him putting it all together, and it's fantastic to see. But when he's not playing with that same confidence, it's rough as a Benfiquista, and not just as a Benfiquista, but as a teammate, as a coaching staff. Must be rough to see a guy desperdiçar chance after chance. And so it's important that Darwin keeps this up. It's important that the rest of his teammates look for him, and obviously the confidence right now has got to be at an all-time high.
Yeah, and Dave, as Cristiano mentioned, and we all mentioned here, the fact that Darwin was bought for a record number, right? And he had all this pressure on his back. Now that with Yaremchuk coming in, and Yaremchuk being apparently the number one striker for JJ, takes away some of the pressure on Darwin. Do you feel that this is the secret to the success, or why we've been able to pull more out of Darwin, or you think it's the positioning alone?
It could be a mix of both, if you want to take it that answer. But the truth of the matter is you can't let Darwin, for how bad of a season that he had last year, because of that record transfer fee, you can't just let him rot on the bench, right? So whether it's JJ identifying that maybe he's got something there, playing more in the wing and leaving Yaremchuk more as the central striker, especially with the way Everton's been playing lately. You can't just let your $22 million man just sit and rotting on the bench, right? So they got to do something to showcase both of Yaremchuk and Darwin. You want to try to get Everton back in there too, because he wasn't at a cheap cost either. So, but for the time being, I think this is the lineup that should be going forward.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. But getting back to the game, as we mentioned, Darwin getting on the scoreboard in the 14th minute from that Gonçalves assist. And Chris often criticizes Gonçalves crosses, but this time he got it right on the mark. Then in the 32nd minute, we had a mistake by Weigl. As Benfica's trying to play out of the back, Weigl did a little touch to get around the defender. The defender, Boa Vista, was pressing high, was able to toe poke it, got a trailing guy, hits a blast of a rocket into Benfica's goal, and nothing Vlaco Dimos could have done anything about that goal. But Weigl redeemed himself 2 minutes later after an Otamendi assist, with Weigl putting it away. But this goal, Cristiano, comes from a dead ball situation. Dead ball situations which we've had problems in the past. We haven't been as consistent with dead ball situations, and something that JJ was known for is lab work at the Seychelles. But happy to see a goal from a dead ball situation.
Yeah, I mean, look, things are definitely looking up in that department. We went there for a period over the last couple of seasons where not just the finishing, but crosses. I mean, guys weren't even getting set up, with the appropriate crosses in order to create chances on set pieces. It was atrocious. Where on the other side, Benfica seemed to be giving up goals at every chance, every opportunity. Well, I don't want to say opportunity for them, but the opposition, every opportunity the opposition got on a Benfica side of things, they were able to convert, and we just couldn't. And now it's early on, but I'm glad that these things are putting up results. I'm glad that we're getting results from this. I'm glad that JJ is working his magic, as you mentioned before, as you switch in the. You seem like right now we just did a Yarmchuk and Darwin situation where we. But yeah, man, look, it's all positives. That's all I could say. I mean, we like to see this. It's early, but as I mentioned before, we need to keep up this consistency, and we need to bring this and continue throughout the rest of the season, and bring it to other games. And it's important to get these goals, especially when things got tight. There with a fantastic goal. What was the dude's name? I forget his name. The guy from Boa Vista. That was a bomba, bro.
Was it Sour?
Yeah, I can't. Sour Patch, whatever. That was phenomenal.
Sour.
What
patch.
A phenomenal.
It was definitely sour for us.
It was definitely a Sour Patch for Lacademos, but nothing he could do. That was just a bomba. Credit to him. Tip my cap to him. That was beautiful to watch. And then I think what made it even better was the fact that, as you mentioned, 2 minutes later, we were able to flip the score once again and kind of alleviate things going into the half with a 2-1 lead. So it wasn't a half, right?
Yeah. No,
it's been so long ago, I forget these things, man. Like,
no, it was definitely after allowing that goal, which could have been a little bit deflating, right? Especially when it comes off a mistake. But I thought that Benfica was always in control of the game, albeit not creating that amount of chances that we're used to from JJ's team. But the story has been the efficiency by Benfica, right? So in this game, we finished off with 8 shots and obviously 3 goals. That's almost 50% of the shots. But certainly a good score line going into the half. Then the second half started, and right in the first 15 minutes, as a matter of fact, at the hour mark, Darwin got a second one, and I thought that after that, Dave, the game was out of reach for Boa Vista.
Yeah, but you could tell after that both clubs really didn't push for it. Actually, I want to change that. Boa Vista, I actually was impressed with what they were bringing forward. They were coming at Benfica, mind you, at that scoreline. They have to come and try to get a couple of goals back. So second half, they were definitely pressing Benfica's defense, but yeah, in terms of Benfica, they managed to handle the Boa Vista attack well, and we were able to come away with the 3 points.
Yeah, and even though we weren't that dangerous in the second half, I think that after that third goal, I think that Benfica just limited themselves to controlling the game with some positive possession, and really doing a lot more just to shut down Boa Vista. And Boa Vista did press and make a push towards the end of the game, but I thought that Benfica was always under control. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's good to see. It's good to see Benfica be on top of teams once again. I mean, for keep referring to for a stretch, but as we know last season, things weren't the brightest, and so it seemed like it didn't even matter the opposition. Benfica's the one being dominated at times, but glad to see that Benfica's finally flipped that around. We need to convert, at a higher rate, because the opposition right now is not exactly the strongest, and things are going to get tougher, and we're going to need to be more eficaz down the line here in some games. So glad to see it. I'm glad these guys are building up their confidence. Just got to mention, I mean, you talked about Darwin and Yarmchuk, and you even brought up Gonçalves, who finally got a cross right. I'm glad. I mean, I love to see it. But I need to see more than one every a month. I need to see a couple more of those being converted. But, it'd be a shame if we didn't mention Rafa, because when Rafa, and I think we talk about this every single year at the start of the year. And I don't even want to say the same words, because it's like, I feel like after I say it, things just, they all just fall apart. But when Rafa is playing at the level that he's playing now, it's a joy to watch. He is quite possibly the most dangerous player in the Liga Portuguesa, and Benfica is damn near unbeatable, because the guy creates so much havoc, and teams have to worry about his speed, and they have to focus on him so much that it allows the Yarmchuks to sneak in behind the defender, create space, and then you got a Darwin, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. And so I think we needed to mention him, because he's kicked off this season spectacularly so far, and so credit to Rafa. It's unfortunate his best bud. Peasy seems like he's been pushed out a little bit, but it's okay because look,
I'm
the
not
team
complaining.
exactly the team's playing well because I mentioned that because his best bud has a ridiculous start every single year.
That's what I was gonna say. When you were talking about a ridiculous player or ridiculous starts, I thought you were gonna talk about Pizzi. But yeah, he's been relegated to the bench for his hot month of August and September. So we'll never know what would happen.
It's an expensive backup, but it's one that we know if we need to rely on, right, Dave? Look, every good NFL team has a good backup quarterback, right? And that's Pizzi's role. We got a backup. The guy can fill multiple roles, and we know if we need a goal, he's going to come in and give it to us. But, he's been relegated. It's something that a lot of us didn't think possible just a few months back because the guy had so much control in that locker room, right? The guys, look, say what you want, like him or not, he's influential because he is a midfielder scoring 15, 20 goals a year. He has these ridiculous starts to the season, but so far, it's a good sign. João Mario's come in. He hasn't, lit the ball on fire yet, with the exception of the first couple of games, he played really well. But then, ever since then, as we talked here when we first acquired him, he didn't do anything spectacular, he didn't do anything bad. So, look, he's Mr. Reliable. He's doing his duty. He's doing his job. And so, right now, there's no room for Pizzi. Think about Benfica. You got Everton on the bench, Pizzi, Gonçalo Ramos, Ferovic, Pinho. You got so many guys that could make a huge difference on the offensive end of things. And right now, they're backups. And so, it's going to be an entertaining Taça da Cerveja for sure. We're going to see a lot of those guys battling it out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And look, and as I just had a comment up by Carlos.
Carlinhos, como é que é?
And I got to say, the attitude for this team this year, and as he mentions there, so nice, is completely different. And when you're playing with confidence, and the team is happy, and the results are coming, there's a lot of things start falling into place. And right now, I can't even say that Pizzi has a spot on this 11.
Bro,
no, he doesn't.
I mentioned because Tarap is going to be upset. I didn't even mention my boy.
I don't even think that Tarap as
Tarap. That's why I say, that Taça Cerveja, everybody's going to be balling out because they're all going to be trying to impress the coach. It's going to be fun. All jokes aside now, you do have much more quality on the bench this year, this time around than we did last year. And so, look, things are going to get interesting. But as I stated here, every time you talk to me about the youngsters, if you recall last year, what was my line? This is big boy soccer, remember? And so this is big boy soccer. This is what it's about. Every good team has a deep squad, right? And it's going to be tough for these guys to get on the field. And so I think it adds to the quality of the team. And look, Pizzi, trabalha mais duro, Tarap, let's go. Stop eating less and grind it out a little bit more. It's fun to watch, bro.
Maybe this year we'll be able to beat Montalegre like 8-0, what we expected to, with all these guys trying to ball out.
Dave, let's not get carried away. But
baby steps, Dave. Baby steps.
No, but certainly it's been great to watch this team, and as Cristiano mentioned, there's a stage of the season where Rafa is practically unplayable, and he would be getting a lot more plaudits. And you guys know this because we've mentioned here oftentimes, is that if he's a better finisher, he's probably not even at Benfica anymore. But that's the one facet of his game that lacks. And that's the reason why he's still at Benfica. But I'm not complaining, but tremendous.
It's not just his finishing. I would like to I like to describe it as his final decision. Whether sometimes it's whatever. Whatever his final decision is, he goes through these lackadaisical periods in the season. And look, we thank you for doing so because, as you stated, you wouldn't be here right now if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, but certainly, and then the involvement of Lucas Veríssimo, as Thiago is mentioning, that pass to Rafa with the beautiful control, and then with the awareness to see Darwin across the way to give him a nice pass that Darwin almost shanked that ball. I don't know if it wasn't as cleanly hit as it needed to be. The ball took a bounce, and it ended up in goal. But hey, I'm not complaining. As long as it ends up in the back of the net, it could be with the left butt cheek or with a toe, whatever.
Hey, on the score sheet, it's 4 goals in 2 games. That's all he knows.
That's all that matters. But look, an important win for Benfica, right? Because as we mentioned last week, at this junction of the season, in a sixth jornada, Benfica was undefeated, went to play against Boa Vista, and that's when the season got derailed and all came down. So I think that there was definitely some kind of a mention by JJ in the locker room, despite the team being going through a good period of form. And I guess you could say that. And without even taking in consideration the opposition that we've played. But certainly you play, the championships are won against these little teams. And I'll take wins against these little teams all day. And if you remember Cristiano's gripe a few years ago, that game that we played against Pasto Ferreira, that he will never let that one go. But it's the games against these teams, because the clásicos and the derbies, those are just few and far between points. The little teams is the ones that we need to win. But certainly 6 wins out of 6 games, Benfica holds a 4-point lead over Porto and Sporting. So I got to be honest, this early in the season, it is what it is, and there's still a lot of points to dispute, but I'm happy.
Hey, and I got to mention this because I know Dave mentioned he's JJ. Let's give my man his due credit. JJ, has led this team to a 6-0 start, first time since 1982-83 with Sven-Goran Eriksson, a guy that you and I had the privilege of interviewing. I still can't believe I spoke to that guy. I just wanted to show off a little bit, drop that.
Name drop.
But I wanted to add to that stat, Dave. He's not only, obviously, he's the first, but he's the first Portuguese coach to ever have this start at the club. So,
yeah,
add to that. Portuguese. It's happened, obviously, but he's the first Portuguese. And, Benfica's had quite a few Portuguese managers in its history. So, JJ, rightfully so, was criticized heavily last season. And so far this year, you can still criticize him for some things. But, hey, as long as the team keeps winning, I guess we'll all sweep all that stuff under the rug and just keep chucking away, one brick at a time, right? How does it go?
Yeah.
Another brick in the wall?
Was it go grão a grão, a galinha enche o papo, something like that. And Bruno brings up a great point, and it seems that we have the Linha de Campeão. We could have had Odysseus expelled in the Azores in the penalty against Boa Vista, but that could have been 1-2. Yeah, I thought that call could have gone against us, and I wouldn't have been surprised, because it does seem like Otamendi hits the leg of the player before he cleans the ball. So that could have gone either way, and I was surprised that it wasn't awarded. But certainly we're getting a lot of breaks this year that we didn't get last year. And I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's just something that is just the luck of the draw. But sometimes we do need that Linha de Campeão.
Hey, I'll say this much. If that was the other way around, I'd be screaming and hollering that he got man first. Yeah, he got the ball after, but clearly got man first. But the VAR was probably busy doing something else. I don't know what it was. But and look, you're going to get these breaks throughout a long season. But as I've stated many times, which is I could accept that previous to the VAR era, but with the VAR, this is inexcusable. So, hey, look, as a Benfiquista, I take it. We know our friends from up north, have gotten many of those favorable, dubious, and VAR bathroom break calls, right? And I guess
the VAR was out.
But exactly. They were in a bathroom break. So I'll just say that if it was the other way around, I'd be pretty upset. But look, Benfica was on top of this game at all time. Never at any point, even if that was, let's say they call a penalty. There's games that we watch, guys, and it's just like we just have that feeling. And like, bro, no matter what the hell we're gonna do, we're not. It's just we're not gonna win this game. Like, it just, even though sometimes Benfica's on top, he's just like, yeah, things aren't today. But never at any point did I feel like, things are going to get tough. I feel throughout the whole game, even if Benfica went down 2-1, yeah, obviously Boa Vista would have compacted things in the back. They would have made it a lot tougher. But Benfica was just going to keep coming forward. As we stated before, they have a shitload of options. And it's a matter of time before, we knock, and we knock down the wall. So,
yeah, absolutely. Dave, stats on this game so we can move on.
Yeah, Chris already stole some of these here, but
He loves doing that.
Darwin with his second consecutive brace, and now he's the second leading top goal scorer in the Portuguese league. So
see, I left that one for you. See,
there you go. There was a two-parter for that one. Benfica with the top leads the league with goals scored through six matches with 16, and they're tied for the best defense with only conceding 3 goals, tied with Sporting, Porto, and Guimarães. JJ, the first manager to lead them to 6 straight victories to open up the league since 82-83, since Sven-Goran Eriksson. And Benfica, one of only 4 top 10 European League teams to have a 100% win record to open up the season. The other 3, Napoli, PSG, and RB Salzburg.
Didn't PSG already tie a game?
yeah,
They've been leaving it late. Mm-hmm. They scored.
Yeah. Messi. Oh no, I mean Hakimi. My bad. Sorry, it was close. They look alike.
Yeah. Before we get to the Guimarães game, I wanted to see if I could attempt something here.
Opa.
In terms of
Dave. Prepare yourself.
In terms of the outside the lines Benfica club life, if you will. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the General Assemblies and the rules and all that, but I'm going to try to explain it as simply and as clear as I can. Right? So I don't know exactly what happened to Cristiano, but he's got a number 1 next to
That's
his
his
face.
one vote, maybe at the assembly. That's his vote.
So anyway, first let's establish something. General assemblies could be announced or could be scheduled by the club. Extraordinary general assemblies are assemblies that are requested by the fans. So the ruling for that is that the fans have to get together a certain number of signatures presented to the directive, and as long as all the prerequisites are filled in terms of all the statutes and the signatures required, then the directive will schedule one. So the directive did schedule one for this past Friday, so a week ago tomorrow, as we record this, and the points was really something that o Movimento Servir o Benfica brought up in terms of let's get rules and regulations for the next election. So those were the points. So Benfica, scheduled it. The fans showed up, and also there's a very particular rule and prerequisite. If you put in the number of signatures, you got to have a certain percentage of those sócios that signed the paper. You got to have a certain percentage that's there. If that percentage is not met, a lot of all the sócios on that the signing sheet that didn't show up, they could lose some privileges to them. So there was a huge massive attendance figure in terms of the General Assembly, and all of those prerequisites were fulfilled. However, what happened was there was an agenda. So point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, and one of the points was obviously to vote on the regulation. Before that day, before the General Assembly, the directive announced that they would not be voting on the elections regulation, which was the main point why they had scheduled this extraordinary General Assembly. So what they ended up voting was on the physical vote, and the fans in attendance, or the sócios in attendance, voted to have physical vote in continental Portugal. So you and I and everyone probably in this chat and listening to the podcast that lives outside of Portugal will not be able to vote via the internet. The vote will be a physical vote, whether it's at the casas, whether it's at the stadium, but it will be a physical vote. That was something that was approved and voted by fans.
Can we send a pigeon? Since we don't
No, you
do the
can't send
No
a pigeon.
pigeon?
It has to be a physical vote.
Can they send our pins now so we get them in time for the election?
No,
that's coming up?
not even close. Not even close, Dave. The other point was that was suggested was they wanted to form some kind of an independent committee by sócios to audit the 2020 elections. I don't know why they need to audit the 2020 elections, but I'm sure they want to see if there's any irregularities that that shows that Luis Filipe Vieira was elected illegally. So what was also said was that the directive also said that they were going to meet with the Movimento Servir o Benfica, go over the suggestions, the regulations that they have, and then get together and discuss any of that. So apparently they got together on Monday or Tuesday. So they've been going back and forth. And tomorrow, apparently, that's when they're going to be discussing the regulations, and the fans are going to vote on that. So that's as simple as I could get this to you. And I hope that I explained it pretty clearly. But it's sometimes it gets a little muddled, and for a lot of us that are not familiar with the rules and regulations of the club outside, just playing football, whatever, it may be a little confusing. So I just wanted to offer that in terms of an explanation, because there's been a lot of talk in the media and in papers about this, the General Assembly, about what happened, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to get that out there. Lastly, Rui Costa officially announced his candidacy on Tuesday, was it? Yep, Tuesday. He announced his candidacy for the elections that are going to take place on the 9th of the upcoming month. Also today, two faces that were very prominent in terms of Luis Filipe Vieira that had been part of Luis Filipe Vieira's directive stepped down and said they would not be part of Rui Costa's list. And they were José Eduardo Muniz and also João Varandas Fernandes, both of them VPs to Luis Filipe Vieira. So we have mentioned here in terms of Rui Costa's candidacy and what he needs to do to kind of clean up a little bit of his image so he is not tied in with the old regime, was that he needed to clean some house in terms of the names that were around him. And certainly, I don't know if he said, guys, I don't plan on including you, so you could either bow out gracefully or I will just not announce you. So I think that these guys did the first one, ended up stepping down. They wished them all the luck. They gave them all, Rui Costa, their support. But certainly it's a step in the right direction, because these two guys were two guys that were heavily associated with Luis Filipe Vieira. So I think it's a step in the right direction. So the plot continues, or the plight continues. I don't think that anybody is going to be able to beat Rui Costa, but certainly he took a step in the right direction in terms of getting these guys away from him. So whether it was deliberate or whether he invited them to leave on their own terms, I don't know. But certainly I think that a lot of Benfiquistas seeing these guys stepping down are probably happy at this time. Chris.
Epa, you're going to get me involved in your Colorado over here, bro. Look, I'll say this. Rui Costa is a quick thinker, right? We've seen the maestro on the pitch create and just be a magician with the ball at his feet and orchestrate guide and lead the orchestra, not orchestrate. I guess you orchestrate an orchestra, right? Something like that.
You conduct the orchestra.
Same thing. Yeah, conduct the train. Whatever. He's a guy that's quick on his feet with his thought process. And look, I think he's come to the realization that a lot of people were unhappy with the current situation at Benfica. A lot of Vieiristas have kind of, jumped ship, or at the very least, they've, woken up, or whichever the proper term. I think it's woken up. They've woken up to what's going on at the club, and people want answers. They're not content with the current direction the club was heading. And I think Ruiz realized that, and he knows that in order to make things more transparent and to get people to buy into him as the president, and obviously to buy into the whole situation with Rui Costa leading this club in the future, he'd have to make some major changes. And as you said, right now, it's not quite clear whether it was Rui letting them know that things had to change, or if these guys just saw the writing on the wall and decided to part ways, and before it became embarrassing. So at the end of the day, I think as Benfiquistas, the ones that wanted change, the ones that wanted things to be more transparent, we wanted to hope and believe that this club was better than what it was, and that it was going to finally start heading down the right path. And a lot of people wanted to see these changes, and I think it's a positive sign. We'll see where this leads. Rui still has to name his whole what do you call it? The people is run. What is it? What's the proper terms? Cabinet, whatever.
His
the people
team,
that are gonna,
his cabinet team.
his cabinet. Yeah, whoever's going to be running alongside, who's going to be on his list, whatever, he has to name those guys. And so there's still a lot of work to do here. We're about 3.5 weeks before elections.
Barely, I think like 2. That's what I was gonna ask. Is who's running up against
What's
them?
today? Today's the 23rd, right? I think the election
Yeah,
is
it's
what,
just
the
2.5 weeks.
The ninth.
Okay, so 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Who's counting? But things need to change. And look, this is a step in the right direction. So we'll see what happens. But, seems as if Benfica is alive. I'm glad that they had this Assemblée Geral de Emergência, whatever word they use. They make these things so complicated for us retards over here.
I agree.
Extraordinaria. To me, it's like it's a good thing. Oh, wow, Assemblée Geral Extraordinaria. That's an extraordinary accomplishment. Like, no, they're ready to throw chairs. I go, not extraordinary. Okay. You guys need to clarify this for us dummies over here a little bit more, because I'm content with these things, and apparently it's happening because things aren't well. So you need to clarify that, guys. But yeah. Glad to see some changes, and we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, thanks, Bruno, for reminding me. Yes, Benfica did announce, and I believe it was the day after the assembly, that the opposition would be getting airtime on the team's media platforms, whether it's BTV, Jornal do Benfica, or Twitter. They'll be getting coverage, unlike they got last year with Vieira, where they practically ignored the election. It was almost as there was no election.
Peraí. Bruno, thank you, by the way. But peraí. They announced it. We're 2 weeks away. We haven't seen anything. So, I could announce whatever. You know what I mean? So
That's what my question is. If there's no opposition, yeah, sure.
No, there is.
We'll invite them.
There is,
Dave. There is. Servido Benfica. There's like
Benitez.
53 guys. I don't know who it is.
But Vieira's
Benitez.
main competitor at the last elections, he's not running this time
Noronha?
around, right? Yeah.
He said no. He had this big bash. Caviar for everybody, chocolate truffles. Just to announce that he wasn't running. So, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, that was very anticlimactic, if you ask me. But yeah, and again, Bruno, Rui Costa is doing all the right things to attract more love, or to even sway guys that are kind of on the fence. And this weekend, or on Monday, we saw him in his little place where Luis Vieira used to sit, surrounded by old Benfica players. And I think that rather than surrounding you with mafiosos and guys that don't know anything about football, surround yourself with old glories. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's nice. I think those guys need to be recognized for what they've done for the club. Whether or not they should be in a directive, that's a completely different story, because a lot of them don't have the professional experience to lead a club. But certainly, you want to recognize guys that did well for the club. I think Isaías, for example, is a guy that should be a little bit more recognized. But I think because he was on Noronha Lopes' side last time,
Vitor
he's kind of been
Pineda.
forgotten. And Vitor Pineda is
You
another
mentioned
dude.
that guy. If there's a guy that bleeds Benfica, a guy that puts his name and gets the crowd riled up. I see Carlos says, he thinks Abel Xavier should become a staple at home games. We need that brand. Look, if this was a fashion show, I'd absolutely be all in favor. This is a football club at the end of the day, and you need that raza. And if there's somebody I want on the sidelines with the microphone in his mouth, as opposed to that Sportingista that's going around and, fly, Eagle, fly, whatever the hell he's doing out there, bring Vitor Pineda before the games to get the crowd livening up. I think it's a great thing. I think at the very least, Alfred, all jokes aside now, when the club, whichever club it is, but when clubs have their former players in the building, they have these guys, they welcome them into the building, have these guys at games, have these guys around the players. I think it sends a message of unity, sends a message that this club is not going to forget about. It's also, I believe, having players around, it's going to resonate to players on the outside. A message is going to get around. If you're contemplating and you're weighing your options, do I go to Benfica? Do I go to whatever team it is that's competing at the time for their signature? You look at that, you see, wow, this team really embraces their players. Look, these guys, they're legends on the field. They're legends off the field. They're going to be around. Look, I want to be a part of something like that. Maybe it's corny, right? But maybe it sways a player in signing for Benfica, right? Over choosing a club that really doesn't do anything. Basically, a club that's done what Benfica's done over the last 20 years, which is ignore their former glories. So I think it's good to see. I'm glad that Rui Costa has done that. But look, at the end of the day, I want somebody making the decisions that knows what the hell they're doing. I appreciate what you did for the club on the field, but that to me is not enough. It's good to see. I'm glad that these guys are back in the building, but I need the right brains to go ahead and make some of these decisions, because where this club has been over the last, let's go 30 years, it's been an absolute joke. This club needs to go in the right direction and can keep this sustainability for the long run. And so, Rui and everybody else, whoever the hell is running this club, do the right thing. I'm trying to read it at the same time and talk, but yeah, Eliseu, get Eliseu on his Vespa, running around, driving around the field, and then give Papaneta on the mic. I mean, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a can't miss event.
Dude, I would trade Eliseu doing donuts on a Vespa in a center circle over the cheerleaders any day. Maybe we could have him like a little evil Knievel stunts.
Hey, be easy on the cheerleaders, man. Everybody cracks on the cheerleaders, but they're easy on the eye, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think
they're easy on the eye. Jeez, I might need some glasses.
They sure are, but I think that there's no place in football for cheerleaders. That's
come on.
At least
have you not seen the Dallas Cowboys and the Oakland Raiders?
American football. That's completely different.
Oh, you mean in soccer? In soccer.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Look, I think if we win, we'll take cheerleaders. We don't care. At the end of the day, who's going to remember cheerleaders at halftime as long as we're winning 5-0? Now when we're losing, everything's going to irritate the crap out of us, and by the cheerleaders. But there's a lot of guys and gals that actually appreciate the cheerleaders. So yeah, credit to the cheerleaders. Keep it up, whatever the hell you're doing. I don't know what the hell you're doing, but keep it up. And look, that just keep bringing the good luck to this team.
I wanted to throw up a couple Mo comments here before we move on to Guimarães. He asks, you think we now have more muscle with Maite, Valentino, and Otamendi, that we can at least not get bullied by Bayern and be forceful with Fekepe? Look, I think that that Fekepe is a cultural thing. So you could have all the muscle on a team, but if you don't have the mentality and if you don't have the culture, it's not going to do you much.
You could have all the muscle on the team, Alfredo, but 2 of those 3 are on the bench. So
that's a good point. That's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, Mo, you're right. I think when you look at those guys, they bring a more physical presence, is more intimidating. But again, Alfredo say you got to have that right attitude, because you can have an absolute monster 6'8" and whatever, but if he's softy on the inside, it don't matter. It's about your raza. It's about what you're willing to do out there on the field. And I totally agree with you, Alfredo. It's an attitude. You got to bring that all the time. And maybe those guys have it. We sure as hell know Otamendi has it. And so if these guys just follow his lead, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, and he also mentions that with Barca being vulnerable, we are really going to regret those points we left in Kiev. Yeah, that was something that we spoke about, that we could have gotten those 3 points in Kiev, came back to play Barca. Let's say you take at least a point
We came mighty close to not even get one. So I mean, let's slow down.
But against Barca, let's say we take at least a point from Barca. Now we're 4 points, right? Barca has one. We have 4. Yeah, if we won, if we would have won in Kiev.
Oh yeah, okay.
If we won in Kiev, we now have 4 points. Barca has 1 point, right? And we're in a good position.
Look, I don't know if I said this on the last pod, but as much as you want to criticize leaving 2 points on the table in Kiev, I don't know if I mentioned it, and if I did, I'm pretty sure I wasn't too confident because I don't remember the stat. But I don't remember the longevity, the period of it. But I know that if I'm not mistaken, there's only been 2 clubs in the Champions League that have gone there over the last whatever it was, so many years that have gotten a result in Kiev, which was Barcelona and Juventus, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So when you take that into account, I mean, getting a draw, it wasn't the worst of results. Now, when you're Benfica and Benfiquistas and you're looking on paper and you see Bayern Munich. I'll name, right? Name was Bayern Munich. Well, those guys are deserving name and everything, but you know what I mean. Barcelona, just name. And then Kiev, you're like, oh, bro, Kiev, we just got to leave that chapada naquilo, And so you're disappointed in those terms. But, look, they play well at home. We got lucky to get out of there ultimately with a point in the end. And I'll say this, I've said it I'm going to keep repeating it until we actually play them, which is, if there was ever a time you want to play Barcelona, this is it. I mean, this is quite possibly the worst Barcelona going back to prior to Rijkaard getting there. This is like the Ricardo Quaresma years, Simon Sabrosa years. This is bad. This is really bad. So,
no, I agree with Oscar Catacuara Cardoso. I think that losing to Bayern, I think it's something that's expected, even though we're going to try to do our best at Stade to lose, right? But it wouldn't surprise me if there's 3 or 4. I think that Bayern right now are probably the top team in the world. I don't see any other team that compares to Bayern right now. Well, name me one.
Sporting, pa.
You act to Maluk. But it was something that we said that those 3 points that we didn't get in Kiev is something that's going to come back and bite us in the ass, and we're really going to need them when it's all said and done.
Look, man, we know for sure. Ronald Koeman, who's been on a hot seat at Benfica, he's on a hot seat at Barcelona right now. So we know the team. If the players like him, they're going to do their very best to keep the guy
I don't think
around.
they're liking him too much.
They might not, but Memphis Depay, who might very well be their best player, he likes him. He brought him over. He's a fellow Dutchman, or what do you call him now? The lower countries, or whatever the hell you call them, Países Baixos.
The Netherlands.
But they're still Dutch. It's still Dutch.
You can't call.
But you can't call them Hollanda no more. Important.
Yeah, it's not Holland.
But you call them the Netherlands.
What? So Netherlands means País Baixo?
I think so. I don't know.
No, isn't it like lower countries?
What's the Netherlands?
That's the literal translation from Portuguese.
Oh, so Netherlands in English means
Netherlands.
See, here's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. English is my second language, but I didn't, I couldn't perfect my first language, so hence why I'm having difficulty here now with both languages. But okay, so Netherlands means País Baixo.
Do we have anybody that was part of the UN Assembly that could explain this name transition to us?
Look, I just wanted to say, Alfredo, you and Dave were criticizing the cheerleaders, and as I said, there's people that like it. Look at our comment box here. A lot of people like the Meninas Lindas. Leave it alone, bro. The Chicas are doing their thing.
Look, I'm not complaining, but I'd much rather have Eliseo doing donuts in the center circle.
I mean, look, the one thing is every time we see Eliseo doing donuts, that's because we won a trophy. So, I mean, I agree with you. Let's get Eliseo riding his Vespa.
Did he even retire? They didn't even announce if the guy retired. Yeah,
he retired. He retired.
He looked like he retired.
He went out on top, dude. He went out on top. So, anyway.
Oh, look, Mo teaching that nether means lower. Okay.
I didn't know that Mo was.
Me neither. I see neither, nether. Yeah, whatever. Hey, that's fine. We're learning. This is the beautiful thing about the Benfica podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You learn a whole bunch of nothing in between some good things here, like nether, nothing. I mean, nether means baixo, lower. Okay.
No, that's news to me, but I'll believe Mo because this is a man that travels the world. He's like Julius Verne. He loves to travel the world.
Mo knows all about País Baixo, let me tell you.
So anyway, Benfica will play Guimarães in a tough game, traveling up to Dom Afonso Henriques this Saturday, 6 p.m. local. Dave, what's Guimarães up to?
This year they're in 10th position with 7 points from their first 6 games, 1 win, 4 draws, 1 defeat. As mentioned earlier, they've only conceded 3 goals all season through the first 6 games of the season, so strong defensively. Historically, 122 wins, 28 draws, 28 defeats. And the record as of lately has been positive against them. Last time we failed to beat Guimarães was in 2012 Taça final. I believe that was Cardoso's last game. So the span since that loss is 18 wins and 4 draws.
Yo, here's a situation. A lot of times, and they say now this happens a lot in social media, which is you just read the headlines and you don't actually click and read the whole story. But I should have clicked it so I could obviously talk about it. But I saw on Record, I believe, that it said that Porto's game and Benfica's games in Minho are in danger of not happening or something like that. I didn't click on it. But did you guys hear anything about that?
Yeah, because Guimarães fans have a special way to behave.
The White Angels, whatever.
So that there's been quite a few situations where they've gotten in trouble for, especially when they play Braga. But so is they're an interesting bunch of fans.
They had the whole Marega incident too.
Yeah, that's right.
A year back too, right?
But what's that got to do with what I see what you're saying, Alfredo? But why then is the Porto's game in Minho in danger because of Guimarães? Where's the correlation between the two? That's what I don't know. I should have clicked on the link.
Because I don't know either. I didn't see the link, but it might be at a time where maybe they're investigating some kind of an incident, and it may fall on the fact that they will suspend the game or they won't allow them to play at home for that game. As we know, Alfredo, the league has a weird timing of announcing things, as you know.
This is their punishment for the Marega thing that happened 2 years ago. You know, like how Terap just got suspended, right? This is the suspension that they're handing down.
And Alfredo, go ahead, Chris.
As I look this up, man, I can't help but think to myself, only if we had a stat guy to look these things up, bro. We gotta get one. Oh, my bad, Dave. My bad. I said that out loud.
Dave's a stat guy, not an article guy.
I know, that's why I said. Here we go. Agenda esportiva. Benfica e Porto em risco no Minho. Os 2 candidatos viajam até ao Minho. Os lisboetas e vitórias, Fortícias e Vicente. No fim de semana de jogo, grande cartaz, Inglaterra. Okay. I'll keep reading this. I'll see what the hell this has to do with it. But go ahead. I figured it'd be like an explanation there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, look, it's always a tough game in Guimarães for Benfica, and I don't expect this one to be any different. And as Mo says, let's not overlook Guimarães. And as you know, Barca comes up next Wednesday, or this upcoming Wednesday, so after the Guimarães game, and we definitely can't overlook this Guimarães game because it's important that we continue on the same momentum that we've had so far in terms of what we've been able to do domestically, and also heading into a period where Benfica will be very, very busy playing between Europe, between domestic competitions. They will be very, very busy. So it's important that we keep on the same momentum.
You know what else is important, Alfredo?
What?
That you pay attention in school, because obviously I didn't do that. So basically, what this means, it says Benfica Porto em risco. So I guess they're at risk. I guess they're going to visit tough opposition.
Was it? Oh, it's clickbait.
I guess they're in danger. You know, they're going to tough.
Cristiano, you're a sucker. You fell for that clickbait.
So much so that I came on. I mean, see, I should have paid attention in school.
Yeah. Now, Bruno Rodrigues it brings up something that has happened this week. Was announced that apparently Porto sold some players to Guimarães or.
By the way, I'm really good friends with
15 million. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I saw that. At first it was 2 players, then they announced it was 4. I'm really good friends with Bruno Rodrigues, but he's a Sportingista. I don't know if it's him. Oh, Bruno, welcome. I hope I'll give you a shirt. But yeah, I mean they sold.
No, Bruno's in Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Okay, then it's not the Bruno Rodriguez I know unless he moved and he didn't tell me about it. Uh, this is one of those manipulation for the financial fair play circumvention of things, and apparently this is very common in Portugal. As long as it's not Benfica, everything else is a go. It's only a problem when it's Benfica.
And apparently, Sporting and Porto had a similar deal between each other when they traded some players to the B team. Also, I forget, but that was on this week's papers. And Ebola had a cover actually just today on the topic. So, but like Cristiano says, if it's if it's Benfica's, everybody's alarmed and everybody's up in arms. But yeah.
Alfredo, you just missed it, just by an inch.
Oh,
He's in Montreal. It was close. Australia, Montreal. A lot of kangaroos jumping around both. I mean, it's close, bro. I totally understand how you mixed it all up.
Hey, congratulations to my Canadian friends for electing Trudeau. Nice, that's nice of you guys.
He got reelected.
Yeah, but he lost power. Subject. But he lost some power within the Senate. Dave, explain that for us.
It was just a waste of an election. Not that I guess everybody has their fair right to vote, but he went into the election, I think, with 158 seats, and he came out of the election with 158 seats. So he's still, and you need 170 seats for a majority government. So
let me correct you there, Dave. I know nothing about Canadian politics, but when you said everybody has the right to vote, let me correct you. Everyone but Benfiquistas. We gotta be present, or else you don't have the right to vote.
But you know what's funny, Cristiano? Is that when the U.S. elections were going on, I saw more opinions from Canadian
experts. They come out of the woodworks, and then they didn't show up for their own elections. This is what I'm getting.
Yeah. Well, but we're not here to discuss politics. We're here to talk Benfica. Let's. If anybody has any questions, just throw them up, and we'll get them up. Chico Morcelino, he's asking if you're going for the Gil Diaz look.
Yeah, if that means not shaving in a couple of weeks, yeah, for sure, I'm going for the Gil Diaz look.
I tell you, Alfredo, I'm glad we're doing this. I just want a big shout out, and I need to mention because I'm glad I in the middle of me thinking of all this crap in my head, I just remembered something as well. But I was going to say, I'm glad we're doing this Facebook, YouTubers and Twitters, whatever we're doing live. I love this interaction. I'm glad that you guys are on board. We need to get a couple more of you guys in here involved in this conversation because to me, this is more fun reading these comments and I love the two of you. But aside from the Canadian politics, this is my favorite thing on the show so far, which is reading these messages. But that led me to my next thought, which was on the last podcast I mentioned Benfica FM and how they call them guys thoughts, and I said if you guys are listening, shout us out, whatever. And our brother Antonio, the only mother Pita, came up with a suggestion on Twitter. He said, due to the fact that we're in North America, not Canada, we don't leave that to you, just our side of North America. He had a suggestion. He said, you have the Zacks for Zach Thornton or the Freddies. I opted to Freddie Adu. I was going to call them the Adus or whatever, but then that could get confusing. So I decided on Freddies. But it is, a 3-team thing here. So my vote goes for Freddie. Dave?
Well,
maybe I
gotta represent Canada. We gotta either do RoboCop or something with Fernando Aguiar.
No.
But I would be on board with.
You got two options: Zach's or Freddy's. Dave, which one?
I'll go.
I like Zach's. I like the Zach's.
I like the Adus team, but Freddie.
No, we can't. See, here's the reason, and I don't want to sway. I don't want to sway you guys. You guys vote here, right? But I decided on Freddie because this great, beautiful, ginormous, and anybody who's been in my studio knows how big this is. I mean, it's just the biggest stadium. Ginormous Stadium is already named after Zach Thornton. He's already got that honor, Zach Torto. We just haven't had the privilege of interviewing him, but we will one day, and we're going to tell him we named our studio after Zach Torto. So I think because he's gotten that great honor, we need to recognize Freddie a little bit. So that's why I voted for Freddie. But it's a 3-team membership here. So you guys, I'm afraid I was going to leave for you in case he picked Zach. You're going to be the decider. Being the fact that you came up with this big shebang, I figured you'd be the final vote. So I got to Dave. But if he picks Freddie, I think Alfredo, your opinion don't matter, brother.
Much thought. But
you're
I'm
silent.
happy with Freddie's. The Freddies. What's going on, Freddies?
Opa, welcome to all the Freddies in the chat. What it means? The Freddies. Have a nice ring to it. Okay, Dave. See, all right. Peter, by the way, good looking, bro. Thank you. Love you guys.
Yeah, let's get into some questions. Chico Morslino, what do you guys think about Darwin playing in Everton's position? Chico, it's too bad that you got here late because...
No, he was here at the beginning. But he was here at the beginning.
That was the first topic that we discussed.
But he was saying hi to Chris.
That's what I'm saying. You was saying hi to... That's why he was here on the chat. Maybe he was listening to it on mute or something. I don't know. He just wanted to see our pretty faces. I don't know. But
Chico is like in danger of repeating myself. Obviously, it's been working, but the one thing that Darwin offers is more verticality and physicality. So he's able to attack the space between the center back and the full back, as well as the space between behind the defense. While Everton is a guy that likes to combine and likes to come more into the middle. Now, the biggest thing is the dynamic between Darwin and Yaremchuk, because if Yaremchuk does what Darwin does on the left, now Darwin is a presence in the box. He may not be as effective as Yaremchuk in the middle of the box, but certainly with the one goal that we got against Boa Vista's first goal, it worked. So Yaremchuk went to get the ball to the right, got it back to Gonçalves. Gonçalves had a nice service in, and Darwin put it away. But that's the type of verticality and physicality that we need to bang bodies against these defenders and be able to retain that ball and not lose that ball. So yeah, great question. But that was what we discussed. Let's see what else we got here. Oscar Taquara Cardoso, your predictions for match against Vitória de Guimarães. Dave?
I'm going to go 2-0 for Benfica.
Chris?
I was trying to think. Remember that skit that dude on Benfica TV, like 3-0? I forgot the result, but that's what I was. No, he was just screaming. He's going nuts. It was like some crazy prediction, like 9-0. I don't know, some crazy shit. But that's what I was trying to search for that in my brain, but I'm having a little setback. So I say 3-1. Let's take the nice positive round number. Let's be consistent. 3-1. I like to keep a clean sheet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Alpha Smith will probably be back from one of his 7 red cards here early on in the season. He's obviously on the transfer, not alone, so it'll be interesting.
Maybe Varela make an appearance too, and let us Afrangu. He's not even the starter.
No, he's hurt, I think, or he's not starting. I don't know.
He's not. I haven't watched.
They got some young Czech goalie that they've been playing.
Wow, what a surprise! Varela lost his spot. I did not see that coming.
Yeah. No, for me, look, Benfica has scored 16 goals and has only allowed 3. So I think that we're going to continue on that stinginess in the defense. I think 2-0 for Benfica. Cristiano, I'll let you take this one for Mo. Thoughts on Vlaco Dimer's play so far and about Morato?
The best. Absolutely the best. I mean, give this guy a lifetime contract.
Yeah, look, I think that
Didn't Varela sound Portuguese?
That's so bad.
Oh, that's the other Varela, but we're talking.
Yeah. That's the other Varela.
He's actually been practicing with the main squad. Credit to him for keeping things professional at this point. But no, that's not the Varela we're talking about, Nelson. We're talking about the Varela that was our goalkeeper that gave the Pito against Boa Vista and ultimately lost us the title. That one guy that you do not want to remember. Good job, by the way, for not remembering. But yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah. No, I think that, as I mentioned, Vlaco Dimer has cemented his place. And I think Morato has been a pleasant surprise because there hasn't been much of a drop-off when he has to come in for Verissimo or Vertonghen. He's done well. I mean, he hasn't done super-duper-duper well, but for a young kid,
how many dupers?
And when you're competing against, I don't know if you call them 3 beasts or 3 monsters, right, in terms of center backs, because I really think that Benfica probably has the best center backs in Portugal right now. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
I think the best center back in Portugal is still the old man Pep, but I think the combination, right, when you stack them up, Benfica I think has Benfica has the best the best options, the best collection of center backs. And yes, Morato, I think he's been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What else?
Let's see what else we got.
We got more
Here's
here.
one from Chico Marcelino. What is the best sub for João Mário? Tarab, Jetson, Maite, or maybe Bernardo? Ooh, that's a tough one. You know what Cristiano's going to say. I think for me is, I like Jetson, and I've been impressed by how Jetson has evolved during his loan stints at other clubs. But, and I think last time he came in for João Mário, I thought he played well.
He did against Santa Clara. He played well. I gotta give him his due.
Tarapt was good when we didn't have João Mário. But now that we have João Mário and understanding how well João Mário is able to hold the ball and not lose the ball, while Tarapt often lost the ball. And you got to understand, Tarapt is not an 8. Tarapt is a guy that plays behind the forward. So when he gets the ball, he's always going to be looking for that risky pass. He's always going to be looking for that dribble. And it's something that João Mário doesn't do. João Mário plays it simple, looks for the little pockets of space, toe poke here and there. Square pass just to get rid of the pressure on him. Much different than Tarapt.
I still can't believe we're having these conversations about Tarapt and João Mário. As much as I love Tarapt, in this system, it makes no sense to play Tarapt because you need to be a lot more responsible in the middle of the park than a Tarapt is. So, therefore, it's not a knock on Tarapt. I mean, it's an easy choice. It's going to be João Mário. Tarapt is a guy, as you mentioned, needs to play up the field a little bit more. And so, to me, he's not even, when you talk about who's the best sub, I don't even consider him at this point because you do have the Maites of the world, the Jetsons of the world. You have other options. I think guys that give Benfica more assurances in the middle of the park than an Adel Tarapt does at this point.
Yeah. Should Benfica go all in attack against Barca? I think that despite Barca's form, we need to be very careful.
I mean, look, they still have very good. Let's not act like Barca all of a sudden is, a team that couldn't compete in the Benfica First Division. We're still talking about
plenty of talent.
We still got plenty of talent. They still have a few players that are very high level players. These guys are all national team internationals, guys that have been there. Yeah, things aren't going well for them right now. And so I think Benfica definitely has an opportunity here to send a message and come away with the 3 points. But at the same time, I think Benfica comes away with a draw, you'd be just as content. Obviously, Benfica has a very tough matchup coming up, and games against Barcelona are never easy. But yeah, right now things aren't going well for Barcelona, and I think we shouldn't get carried away and expect Benfica to go all out attack against a team like Barcelona with the quality of players that they have, because that could be very dangerous. I think JJ is gonna face this game cautiously. I think the game's at Stadio de Luz. Barca is gonna be looking to send a message themselves because, as we stated before, they've not gotten the results. They have to come up with the result in a game like this in the Champions League. Albeit that it's not against a mighty powerful Benfica of the old days, it's still a Champions League game, and hopefully that could buy the coaching staff and a lot of the players sometimes. So they're going to want to send a message. It's going to be a very entertaining game, and we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Benfica has everything in their favor that they could absolutely come away with a positive result. Just like I think if Barcelona comes away with a victory at the Stadio de Luz, it's not the end of the world for Benfica. It's going to be disappointing, but it's still Barcelona with fantastic players on their roster. They don't have the Messis, they don't have the Griezmanns and the Suarez's, but they still got very good players on that team.
Yeah. Chico Marcelino is asking at this point, what is the picking order in our stack right back position? Dave, I'll let you go first.
I'll go from bottom up. Double A as our fourth option, I rate. From there,
Double A?
Double A.
As
Andre
our first
Almeida.
I know. As our
No,
first.
I'm going from bottom.
He's going from the bottom.
Oh, you go from the bottom up. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going from the bottom up. Then I would put Diogo Gonçalves, then Gilberto, and then Lorato, or Lázaro, not Lorato. It's a mix of Morato and Lázaro. So Lázaro as our number one there.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't seen much of Lázaro. I know that he played a whole half against Boa Vista. He had one cross there that was very nice for a header that the goalie saved. I would like to see more of him. For me right now, it's Gonçalves, it's Lázaro, it's Gilberto Carlos, and Andre Almeida. Chris?
Yeah, look, I want to go Lazaro first, but as you said, and rightfully so, we haven't seen enough from the guy, and it's going to take him a little time to adapt. So right now, I think by default, it's Gonçalves. Uh, Gilberto Carlos, in my book, that dude just he's reached legend status for me just because of that picture we've seen going around social media. My man's a class act. I mean, he's phenomenal. But dude's a model off the pitch. I'd put him second. Lazaro, Gonçalves, but since whatever, so I put Gonçalves, Lazaro, Gilberto, and then Almeida, who's still making his way back from his knee injury, missed all of last season, not all, but most of last season due to his knee injury. So right now he's last on the pecking order.
He's back injured now too, isn't he?
Yeah, he pulled a muscle or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but him and Gonçalves are hurt. So it's a good thing that we have 15 right backs to play. Let's see what else we got here. Tiago's asking when you're gonna wear the Borat swimsuit, and I think the
Why
deal
would
was
I?
the deal was if we sold Varela for 15 or above, that he would wear it.
And then I think I actually changed. I said to anything even close. It didn't even need to come close. So, I mean, if anything, you guys, Tiago, you should be wearing a Borat suit because if you actually believed you leave for 15 million.
Says they're saying you think that Jetson could go up to third choice in the middle now that we see Maite looks like it doesn't count much for JJ and Tarap isn't playing. Yeah, for me, Maite has been a little bit of disappointment. Tarap has been suspended, but he will come back hungry. But I think that, as I mentioned, Jetson has surprised me. So I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if Maite has been a disappointment, Alfredo. I think it's more due to how Vigo's been playing of late. I think he wants to play Maite at that more defensive role. And that's the guy he's really battling with for playing time. And Vigo, he's played really well here. And so I think you can only fit one of those guys. And right now, Vigo's got that position. So I don't think it's a knock on Maite. He needs to look. He just got to Portugal. Needs to adapt as well. I believe he's one of right. I think JJ mentioned something last week about Yaramchuk and might have been Maite. A few guys that don't speak Portuguese or whatever, right? And so he's having a difficulty. He has to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it's due to the fact that he hasn't. It's not because of the way he's playing. I think it's more due to credit for Vigo early on here in the season.
Yeah. And let's not forget also that that position is a position that JJ asks a lot of, and it takes a lot for you to grasp what he wants from that position. And as Chris mentioned, a guy that doesn't speak the language, it's going to take him a little longer. So far, he hasn't impressed me, but hey, he's still a guy that needs to be counted. Mo is asking who's been the biggest engine, Rafa or João Mario. João Mario has been, both of them have been really good for Benfica this early on. I think that we all know that Rafa will have that cool off period. João Mario, he's a guy from what I can remember is a guy that's always a little bit he's always very regular throughout the season. So I'm hoping that he continues, and when he does go down, I hope that Benfica doesn't suffer a lot from him going out.
It's Rafa. Benfica goes as Rafa goes.
Yeah. Did Gabriel get loaned to a club in the Middle East? Yeah, the word is that possibly Qatar, but we don't know yet if it's.
And it wasn't even going to be a loan. He was going to rescind his contract.
He's going to rescind his contract. So I don't think that then, as Tiago says here, not unleashed until the January transfer window. So I don't know what the rules are in the Middle East.
They're still open over there. The Middle East still open. So, just think about it. James Rodriguez signed today in Qatar. So the window over there for at least for free agent players. That's why That's why they're talking about rescinding the contract, not a loan, because obviously your loan you probably have to wait. I should know this. This is a bad job on my part. But I'm pretty sure as a free agent you could sign with the club. So. There's still that possibility. I know that he was very close, and this is not public, but I know he's very close to going to Fenerbahce, if I'm not mistaken. They had everything sorted out with the club on loan, but he didn't want to go to Turkey. He didn't want to take the pay cut or whatever it was, and ultimately that loan and then that transaction between the two clubs fell apart. But yeah, he's not making things easy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go to Turkey, but he'll go to Qatar.
Yeah, it makes no sense because now I think now, Dave, there's at the time I guess you still had hope that there was other options that would be presented, and right now it's just like, all right, bro, you're gonna sit, play in Lisbon with the Pigeons, or go play somewhere else. 'Cause you ain't playing with the Aguias, so
Yeah.
it's one of those.
And now that you mentioned Lisbon and the Pigeons, and it reminded me of him working out by himself at Seychelles. Seychelles, who was celebrated its 15th year of existence this week. Chico Marcelino says, from what you've seen, you think Yaremchuk is an improvement over Vinicius? Early signs are encouraged, but hard to say if he'll be an improvement over Vinicius. And I think that if he grabs the Pichichi, as Cristiano likes to call the best scorers award, I think he's definitely an improvement. But until then, I think he still has tem muita sopa comer.
Look, he's even though it's early, I think in the box he's a better finisher than a Vinicius.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, Vinicius, not that Vinicius is anything spectacular outside the box neither, but look, he took the crown that 1 year, so until this guy matches that, I think Vinicius deserves his due credit, and we'll see. I'm excited to see what the Yaremchuks of the world could do, but it's early. He has to adapt, and he's looked good in some games. In other games, he hasn't looked so good, but I think his quality is there. So it's about getting him involved. It's about getting him the right service into the box. I'm excited for a guy like this.
I think he has better feet than Vinicius, to be honest with you. And he's, as Cristiano mentioned, he's a better finisher. Cesar is saying, should we loan Ramos in the winter to get more game time? No. Seferovic is hurt. He's going to be out a few weeks. It's a long season. There's a lot of competitions. I think that Gonçalo Ramos needs to be there.
I would loan him, and I'll tell you why.
You would loan him out?
I'll tell you why, because realistically, if you look at the way we play with one striker up top. I know we talked about Darwin and coming in and the Yaremchuk movements and bringing another guy into the box and yada, yada, yada. But I think Benfica has plenty of options that they could live with four strikers if Everton gets right. I think that's what's crucial. And what's the other guy? And I apologize to the Benficas around the world. You must be thinking I'm some Fugazi Benfiquista, but I can never think of this guy's name. Radanovic, whatever. What's my man's name?
Radonjic.
Yeah.
Oh, it was close. Guy.
He's hurt too.
Redondo, I know. But if he gets right and you have a guy like Everton get right, it's going to be one less spot, let's just say, for right now, for Darwin. You're going to have four guys battling it out for one position. So I think if you loan out a Gonçalo Ramos to get more experience, I think we could survive that. We'll be okay.
Yeah, but you could also see what JJ was trying to do, because at first he was deploying Gonçalo Ramos in that Darwin position.
But dude, he was the only one that was healthy at the time. Seferovic was out, tired because of the Euros. Pinho played and got hurt right away. Yaremchuk wasn't here yet. Vinicius was, but they weren't playing him because they weren't counting on him. So it was like he was the only option. You had no choice but to play him at the time. Alfredo? Nope.
Yeah. No, Chico Marcelino is saying, do you fear that we might lose Gonçalo Ramos' clinical finishing qualities if he leaves the box too much to play with his mates? And that seems is what JJ wants him to do. I do think that Gonçalo Ramos is a lot better playing in the box than outside the box. But as you heard Cristiano here and Dave say, you got to put away those chances, man. Because if you don't put away those chances, he's going to be left behind.
And Davey, I know Radonjic is not Radonjic, whatever.
Radonjic.
I know Radonjic is not a straight forward. When Benfica plays in that 3-4-3, he's playing on the outside. I didn't say he was a forward. So,
yeah.
But Darwin right now, obviously, he's scoring goals, right? he's our best left winger for sure, especially if he keeps playing this way. But Benfica needs to figure this out with Everton.
Dave, I'll let you take this one. Chico Marcelino says, if Grimaldo's not available, we should play the left back position in the Champions League.
Who do we have? Are we putting a double A?
Dave,
putting him on that left?
You're the stats dude. You should know this.
Yeah, but I'm the numbers guy, not on the depth chart here. Who do we have there in that position? Unless we've got some B team player registered to make the numbers work.
But here's the thing: we don't
Lazar
really.
can play on the left.
But that's what I was gonna say. We don't really play when we play in a 3-4-3. We don't really play with a left back in the old school way of tradition of 4-4-2, right? So it's more of a guy that could do that whole corridor up and down. And so I think it's a little bit easier to adapt somebody. Like you got a guy if he's healthy, right? Andre Almeida.
We'll put in Servi.
I don't know how much you can Chucky. You put in Chucky. But yeah,
Chuck, and you got Chuck up top.
Yeah.
If we played with the Tavares kid out of position for a
Right
long
back.
time, why can't we play with Andre Almeida on the left? We could.
Because I don't think Andre Almeida could run that much. But still, for one game, we could do it now for an extended period of time. Gil Diaz, line up, my man. Get ready.
No, he's not. He's not registered for Champions League.
That's right. The Champions League, he's left out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sergio was asking, is Darwin our best left winger? I don't even think that's a left winger position, to be honest with you. I think that's more of a forward that's deployed to the left. I don't know if I'd consider Darwin. It's hard to consider or classify Darwin as a winger.
He's not a winger, but he's playing in a winger position because
Yes.
JJ plays in a 3-4-3. That is a winger, but he has a lot more, flexibility, a lot more ability. He has the freedom to just make your own runs, and if he's scoring goals, and Yaremchuk opening space for him, I think, for you call him whatever you want. Like I said, I answered on Twitter. He keeps scoring 2 goals a game. The guy can play right back for all. He can pick his position. I don't give a crap. You just keep putting him in the back of the net.
Yeah. Davey said Everton can go kick rocks. Shot the score for Celtic today. It's funny that you say that because whenever there's a Benfica player that's interested, or there's interest from a Benfica player from an international team, we always get plenty of DMs on our Benfica podcast box asking about, what can you tell us about this player? And I was talking to somebody from Celtic, and I did say, look, he's got great potential. He just hasn't been able to fulfill it at Benfica. But his type of game and his style of game, I think, is a game that will fit well with a more direct Scottish or even British game. And I told him, look, if this kid breaks through, he's going to be an outstanding player for you. And now there's been a couple games. He played in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. He had a good game. And also he scored today on a very good run behind the defense, and the through ball found him, and he was able to tuck it away past the goalkeeper. So, look, I'm very happy for Jota, and I just hope that this could be something that could be beneficial for Benfica next year, that he could get his groove back. Anyway.
Well, you kind of don't want him to have too good of a season because what was his buyout? 10 million?
Oh, he does have a buyout. You're right about that. He does have a buyout. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's all we got for you this week. Sorry for being here late, but we'll be back to their regularly scheduled program next week on Tuesday. Thanks all the Freddies for keeping us company and asking all the questions. I know that Cristiano loves that type of interaction, and so does Dave.
I was just going to say big shout out to all the Freddies. Thank you, Federicos, for joining us, and look forward to talking to you guys again next week. And let's get this movement going, man. We need a couple more of you guys in the chat because things for sure get a lot more interesting.
Right. Take care, you guys. Have a good week, good weekend, and Forza Benfica.
Correct.